Before I go through and do a video on all the individual features of the plugin and breaking down one by one, I wanted to do a video on a few different things that I like to do to a WordPress site before I go through and actually build things out. Some of you that are more experienced might do things a little bit differently, and that's fine. I'm sure you'll see as I go along in this video that there might be some other plugins that you use that will do things a little bit differently and that you're used to, and this plugin should interact with those just as well. But these are just a few things that I like to do to my sites before I do anything to build out the site. The first thing is I go to Settings, Permalinks, and I change the permalink structure. And if you've been building sites for a while, you've been studying any kind of SEO, you know that this is something that just needs to be done. But if you're brand new, I wanted to make sure that I included this just so that you were aware. The most important thing is the post title needs to be included in the post title needs to be included in the URL of the site, on the permalink of the site. So what we're going to do is you could do the post name. We can just leave it like that if you wanted to do that, or if you wanted to do something different, such as add the category or something in there. If you wanted to see all the different tags that are available, you can actually just click that link and it's going to show you all the different ones that you could use. Category, post name, post ID. I typically, for myself, I just use the post name, so I wanted to make sure to make that it's in post name and hit save changes. The other thing is that there's a specific SEO plugin I use to be able to set the title and the description for each post. I personally like the WordPress SEO by Yoast. If you're used to using all-in-one SEO, Platinum SEO, any of those SEO plugins that work good, they interact with the plugin really well. You'll be able to set your title and description. And we honestly thought about hard coding that stuff into the plugin itself, but just in our experience, if you're familiar with working with a plugin, we wanted to make sure we gave you the option of doing that, so that you didn't have to change the way you do your titles or your meta descriptions or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and install the WordPress SEO plugin, and you just go to plugins, add new. Let me just type in here WordPress SEO, and I want the WordPress SEO by Yoast, and I'm going to activate that plugin. And it's going to ask if you want them to track or not track the usage stats. It says that you remain anonymous, but I usually just set to not allow tracking. Now this is a demo site, so right away it's going to tell me that I'm blocking access to robots. I am doing that on purpose, and that's just under reading. Basically, you have the option of search engine visibility, where you tell it to discourage the search engines from indexing the site. I'm going to be doing a lot of test posts on this site, just doing a lot of different stuff, so I actually don't want this site to get indexed at all. But if you see this and this is one of your live sites, you want to make sure that you go here and you change that setting. But the majority of you are not going to see that, because I actually did that before I installed the plugin. Now if we go to the SEO plugin, it's got a lot of different settings. The title settings. One of the main things that I do here is this no index subpages of archives. I don't want Google to index the page 2, page 3, page 4. I basically just want them to index the post, and the tags is the main thing. So I'm going to save those changes. And then you have the option of setting up a homepage template for the title, a meta description, also in post types, title template. What I'm going to change here is for post, I just want the title of the site or the post, and that's so that whatever we set when we create the shaker page, it's what's going to show up on there. and pages you can leave as is, everything else you can leave as is. Save those changes. Pretty much everything else, it's good as the way it is. All the other settings are good. It does have what I like about this plugin is that it does allow you to have the sitemap functionality built in already, so you don't need a separate plugin for that. One thing I do recommend is do not enable this sitemap functionality until your site is built out, because as the plugin is building out pages, it's going to keep on adding stuff to the sitemap and just tends to slow down the build process a little bit. So I just disable it, and then once the site is ready to go live, I built out all my post, then I go ahead and enable it again. And those are the two main things that we need to worry about before we build out or start doing stuff with Shaker pages, or Shaker actually. Before we start building out the pages, those are the two main things that I wanted to make sure we touch on. In this video, I'm going to take you through how to install the plugin, but doing it through the cPanel by uploading the files directly. And if you're familiar with FTP programs, you could do the same thing with FileZilla or anything like that. But I'm just going to go through the cPanel for this one. So you log into the cPanel for your site, go down to File Manager, and I'll typically just go to the document root, show hidden files just in case. Once in here, you're going to find your WordPress installation. You go inside WP Content, Plugins, and depending on how many plugins, you might see something different there. This is a brand new installation, so there's nothing really there. But you're going to hit upload, look for the file. You're going to look for the Qzx900 It tells us down here that it's complete, so we can close this out. We'll hit reload. Here's Qzx900. Now it's in zip, so we want to make sure we head over to and hit extract once we highlight it, and then hit extract. If we hit reload, we'll see that now it's in its own file, so we can actually delete the zip file here. It's got its own folder now. And then, so the plugin's now installed. All you have to do is activate it in your WordPress admin area. So if we go over here, I'm going to just go to the regular WP admin for the site. This is just the dashboard. But if you head over to plugins and installed plugins, you'll see Qzx900. It's there. All you have to do is hit activate, and then the Shaker pages should show up. And you'll have the plugin installed and activated on your site. Like I said, the same thing can be done with FileZilla. You would just navigate to the same folder that I showed you, the WP Content plugins, WP Content plugins. You do that through FileZilla, and then you go on your site, on your admin area, and activate it. Okay everyone, in this video I'm going to be showing you how to go through and install the plugin. So there's actually two different ways to do this. You could do it through the WP admin area, which in my opinion is the easiest area, or you can go through the cPanel of the site and upload the files through there and then activate it inside the admin area. So I'm going to show you both. Whichever one's easier for you, you can follow along. We'll start out with the first one, which is just uploading it directly through the WordPress website. So I just have here this basic WordPress install, nothing on it. I'm going to go ahead and go over to the WP admin area. Go ahead and log in. Once you're here, you just head over to plugins, go to add new. You want to hit upload, and you're going to upload the file that you downloaded when you bought the plugin, which is the Qzx900. That zip. Hit install now, and then activate the plugin. And immediately you'll see here Shaker pages. So when you see that, you'll see that you installed the plugin correctly. And we'll do a series of videos taking you through this, but this one's just to install the plugin. Okay, I'm going to explore in depth each of the different features of the plugin, and I'm going to do them a little bit out of order, but this is just the way that I do it when I'm building out my site. So the first thing that I do is actually go to the shortcodes area, and this is the main thing that we're going to be adding the shortcodes. And depending on the strategy that you're using, that will kind of dictate what shortcodes you're going to be using. But my main approach with this kind of site has been always to take the local geo route. So let's say, for example, this site that we're building out is targeting all the cities in the state of Alabama. So what we would do is we go to add shortcode. Let's name this first one just city. And the shortcode data, this is where all the city names will actually go in. And you have complete freedom to do to set up this area however you want. I have a spreadsheet with all the cities in the US. I'm just going to take the ones that are in Alabama, and actually I want to use just the city. We can create another shortcode for the state abbreviation, and like I said, this is just the way that I like to set up my shortcodes. You're free to do them however you wish, or you can just follow along the same way that I do it. The shortcode name, basically what you want to put in there is just anything that you remember, that whenever you add these shortcodes to the content, these are for whenever you're building out the pages. Basically what it's going to do is you put the shortcode into the shaker page. When it builds out, it's going to go through and actually pull each of these one at a time. And actually, since we are just doing the state of Alabama, I don't need to copy all of them. Basically it has the option. It does if I were to copy all the same amount of cities that there are in there for the state shortcode, it's just going to go 1 to 1. But if I'm just doing one state, then I don't need to worry about making sure that they all line up exactly the same. And I'm just going to put a state short for this one, and then we'll add another shortcode and do state, put Alabama. So in essence, we end up with city, state, state short, and something you could do is zip codes. If you had a list of zip codes, that goes along with the cities as well. Now what you have to remember is that if you're going to put a city and also make a separate one for zip codes, just make sure that you do what I talked about, where you make sure that the list lines up 1 to 1, which is why it's important to have it in a setup like this, in some kind of spreadsheet, so that you make sure that everything matches up nicely and you don't end up with anything that doesn't match up, like a city that wouldn't match up to the correct zip code or anything like that. Now in reality, if we're doing just one state, we really don't need to worry about these state short, because when we're building out the site, we can just write out the state name and the state abbreviation. The only thing that really will be changing on each page will be the actual city name. This is the shortcode section, so it's just a quick overview on that. Just wanted to show all the different options. If you click on these, you'll see the different shortcodes again. You have an option to go ahead and update them, change it out on there. You can delete shortcodes, add new shortcodes, and this could be a list that is, as you're building out, can be constantly changing. You can do a separate sub list. I know Don said that a good strategy would be to also target Amazon products, and you can load up a list of models in here instead of doing the city. So you know, like I said in the beginning, the first video, you want to try different strategies, find one that works for you. If you take my approach, you go this city local method, but there's a lot of different things you could do with it. Just gives you a lot of different options. So please just take the time to experiment and find something that works for you. Now that I've touched up on the regular shortcodes, I want to go ahead and go through the dynamic shortcodes and what that's about. The dynamic shortcodes are more, the way to think about them really is if there's maybe like a snippet of code that you want to use on every single post that's built out, such as a video, or maybe a specific paragraph that you wanted to show up on every single post created, or you can have spin syntax in that paragraph, so it could be a unique paragraph. And that's the reason I mentioned that, because that's actually something I specifically done. Is I have a closing paragraph that I've one of those super spun paragraphs that I like to use at the end of my post to kind of make each one a little bit unique, since in reality the only thing changing from post to post is just the city name, unless you've already added some kind of spinning within the post itself, which I will talk about that in the when I go to actually creating a news shaker page. But anything you can really think of that you find yourself inserting again and again into the post, you can just make it into a shortcode, into a dynamic shortcode, so that you only have to type in the dynamic shortcode, the code itself, which is this right here, the 3 hashtags shortcode followed by the 3 hashtags again. That way you don't have to copy and paste that paragraph or do anything like that. So let's say you have like an intro paragraph, a closing paragraph that you like to use. So what you would do here is you set a name. So let's say, you know, we're talking about closing, so I'm going to put in closing. The paragraph, you would actually go ahead and put it here. And let me pause the video real quick, just grab one of my super spun paragraphs. Okay, I've copied one of my super spun paragraphs, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste it right in here. And if we see, it's got spin syntax all throughout it. So it's one of those deep spun paragraphs. And right here, since this is a spun paragraph, I'm going to hit yes, and I'm going to go ahead and create it. Now let's say that there's also a video that I want to put throughout, so I'm going to name this video. Let me just quickly go on YouTube, find a random video just to get the code. I'm just going to grab the embed code here, go back over to dynamic shortcodes, put this in text, since if we are adding code, I typically like to work in the text bracket. But we've got that there. This is not spinnable, and we can just hit create update, and we've got the video shortcode in there, the dynamic shortcode. So those are just 2 different examples. You can actually also use this for ads if you wanted to copy ad codes in there, but we do have an ad manager specifically for that, which I will be touching on next. So if you have ad codes, I would actually use the ad manager, but it will work the same way in here as well if you were to put it in here. The last area I want to touch on before I actually take you through a overview of the actually putting together a shaker page or a template for the shaker pages is the ad manager that we've got built into the plugin. The ad manager allows you to put in either images or snippets of code or JavaScript, depending on what you're working with, whether it's AdSense. You can put the AdSense ads in here. You can put code from Max Bounty, or an actual just image ad that links somewhere. You can put it in here so that when you're creating your template, your shaker page, you can add that anywhere on the content, and it's going to show up on all the posts that are created through the plugin. So first thing is you want to set an ad name. So I'm just going to call this one body image, just because it's going to be in the body of the text. Make sure that I'm in visual. I want to go ahead and add media because I'm going to be uploading a image file. I'm just going to use the sample HCG diet here. I wanted to make sure that it's linking to a custom URL. Let's just say that this is the trackingurl.com. Basically whatever tracking code you get from, whether it be Max Bounty or any of the CPA places, or if it's just going straight to another website that you own, just make sure that it links to something if it's meant to be a clickable ad. And you want to make sure you insert it into the post. Now the other thing you want to do is you want to set the alignment. Just think ahead of where you're going to place this in your article, and if you want it to be left aligned, right aligned. So for now I'm just going to make this left aligned, make sure that it's updated, and create ad. So it's going to show you here the code that you have to use to actually use that ad in the content. It's going to show a preview of the ad, and if you highlight it, it's actually going to show you that it's a clickable image, and if you were to click on it, it would take you, but I just created a dummy URL. Now the other kind of ad, let's say for example that we copy a Max Bounty snippet of code. So let me just pause the video real quick. I'm going to head into my Max Bounty account and just grab a random tracking ad. Okay, so I just grabbed a random snippet of code from Max Bounty. No idea what the offer is even about, but just something to show you on here what you would do. So once you have the snippet of code from Max Bounty, come over to the text side of things, copy it in there, and you'll see that it's just a link with an image. But depending on where you get your code from, you might have to do things a little bit differently to get them to align left or right. I know with this specific one I've had some issues before, because if I go to visual, the actual image is not going to show up, so I can't highlight it and choose the align left or right. So I'm just going to show you a quick little trick what to do in that case. Basically what you would do is you would just put this code within a div tag, and you would we'll have this below this video, so you can just copy and paste. But basically what this is saying, it's that the style, it's floating to the left, so if you wanted this to actually be on the right, you would change that to right, and it's adding a padding of 10 pixels all throughout it, so that way they're spacing for the actual image. And then you just got to make sure that you close the div tag as well. So just like I said, depending on the network that you're getting this from or what you're using, you might have to do something like this, and it's probably something in the future that will hard code in to where you can easily just put it to float left or right, no matter where you're bringing the code in. But just wanted to show that quick little tip in there. And we're just gonna say, I'm just gonna call this Max Bounty and create that ad. Now it's not gonna show any kind of preview because we did add it in the text side of things, but when you put this into the content and it generates the page, you'll be able to see that and have that ad show up throughout the whole site. In this video, I'm going to touch on the Shaker interlink and what that function actually does. And when you click on Shaker interlink, you're actually just going to get a set of instructions, and it tells you what code to use to put this into the body of the post. What Shaker interlink does, it just provides a link to the previous and to the next post, but it allows you to set the anchor text that link cast, because WordPress does have the function for linking for previous and next post, but it typically just uses the title of the post to do that. So by using the anchor text, you're able to choose what that anchor text is. What we're hoping to do here is just add relevancy to the site when the spiders are jumping from post to post. And following the anchor text that you put on there, it just gives you another chance to kind of throw in one of those secondary keywords linking to the previous and to the next post. So to add relevancy, and this is just something that we've been testing out and has worked really well. In a way, it's almost like siloing the site a bit, and we'll add a little bit more features to this in the future, but for right now we just wanted to keep it as simple as possible because it just works. This is what I've been doing manually. Now we just have an easy way of doing it. So we do have a little warning here. Do not copy paste these samples into the visual post editor. Make sure when you paste them in there, it's into the text tab. By what we mean by that is, let me just copy this first one here and go over to the Shirker page that I've got set up. Now if I hit edit, most of the time we're going to be working on this visual side, and visual, it's right up here. And so when we're adding content, I know the majority of people are working into this visual side. So when we're going to copy this shortcode in, we want to make sure we first go over to text. We kind of go in an area where we want to put it in. We paste it in. I'm going to go ahead and make restaurant the anchor text. I'm going to cut that out and actually replace this little part here that says anchor text. Paste. So now that I did that, now I can go back to visual if I need to make changes, but it's just very important because I'll show you what happens if you don't do that. If you don't do that and you paste it into the visual side, you're going to end up with these HTML characters. And basically what's going to happen is when you build out the post, it's not going to interpret it as a link. It's just going to actually have the code in there. So you're going to end up with a post that just has the HTML code in it instead of actually having a hyperlink. So it's just very important to make sure you are working in the text tab. Once after you paste it, you can go back to visual, continue working on it. No big deal. The final feature of the SERP plugin that I wanted to do a video on is this shaker, and this seems like it'd be a little weird, but basically what this is doing is we pick a date in the past, can be a few years back if you want, and that's what's going to be set as the start date. And so any date from where you pick up until now, it's going to go through and shuffle the dates on the post so it looks as if it took that long to build out the site. The idea with this is that you want to build out the site pretty much all in one sitting, and then come to Shaker and shake it up so that it looks like it actually took longer than just a few minutes to build out the site, so that when the bot comes through, or just a random person looking through the sitemap or anything, it just doesn't raise any red flags that it was all built in a matter of minutes. So I like to do almost like a 2-year or a full year. So if we just put July 1st, and this append part, it's also, you can add text, HTML code, anything if you wanted to add it at the beginning and the end of every post. So let's say you built out your post and you wanted to add an extra paragraph at the end, and you wanted that paragraph to have spin syntax in there. You can go ahead and do that on here. Or if you needed to add a banner to the top of every single post, you would add the code in here, whatever the code would be for the banner, and it would just get added to the top of the post. So it's just an extra feature, or you can just leave it blank, either way. But once you pick your date, you just hit submit, and it's going to go ahead and go through and shuffle all those dates for you. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about keyword research and what I look for, or like to look for when I'm building out a site. Now, in all honesty, I'm not going to touch too much on this because I actually don't do this process of keyword research anymore. I've been building these kinds of sites for so long now that I have a really good idea of what the kind of site that I'm going to build, and I really don't look for any specific number of searches. I just as I'm going through my day, I'm brainstorming on just different things that I could put a local twist to it. As you're driving from home from work, just look around you. There's tons of businesses, tons of different things that you could put a local twist to. It doesn't have to specifically be like a local business type setup. Just happen to see a billboard for a specific service or something that they're advertising nationally, but that you could put a local twist to it, that you think that would be a good idea. So basically with this is just if for your first couple sites to make sure that you're kind of heading in the right direction. So we're going to search for new keyword and add group ideas. The main thing is for example, going with our example that we did with the walkthrough for the building the site pizza places. So I'm just going to put in pizza places or pizza shops. Let's just put pizza shops on there, and let's just get some ideas. Let's just start looking at that. Now I like to just look at the straight keywords, keyword ideas, and I'm going to arrange this by the average monthly searches. And basically I just start going down the list and see if there's anything that pops out. There's pizza places near me, so this is what people are searching for. So then I would probably put the twist, pizza places near city and state. So that would be a good idea for a keyword to target. And that this pizza places near me has 74,000 monthly searches. That's throughout the whole US. I like to look for something that has a lot of searches, at least 20,000 or more, because that gives me maybe actually I've gone as low as 10,000, but it gives me a good indication that there's a lot of interest throughout the whole United States, so that when you go down to the city level, you're still going to get a decent amount of traffic, and since we're targeting multiple cities at once, then we're able to benefit from that traffic. It's just pizza places by itself, 22,200 monthly searches. So we'd be able to put pizza places in city and state, and like I mentioned in the example, this is purely just an example. If you were to actually build out the site, I imagine that this is just one that there's a lot of competition, and all the pizza places themselves probably have their own websites, but there's a good possibility that you'd end up ranking, and you could do something such as selling ad space to local mom and pop pizza places, or just putting AdSense on it. It says that they're paying about $1.60 per click. You get about 50-70% of that, so about 70 cents a click or so. So you could make good money, be worth a shot to try out. But I'm sure everybody watching the video might jump that route, so I would just steer away from it and just see this as an example, and not just use this as an example, and not take it as something to go out and build right away. So what you can also do when you're in here is take the main one, but also take some of those secondary keywords that we want to use throughout, and make sure that we sprinkle those and also use them in the tags as well. So you could do grab a lot of those from here, and make sure you mention them throughout the post title, the body of the article, and the tags, so that you just build that relevancy, and it gives your site more chances of showing up on the search results. In this video, I just want to show there's a few slight changes from when I first originally recorded the videos. We've already done an update to the plugin. So a couple of things that have changed is then primarily the shortcodes, the dynamic shortcodes. You'll notice that instead of having the hashtags that appear on the video, it's a different code. So you can just copy and paste stuff. So if you're following the video and copying and pasting like I was doing it, just copy and paste the code in here. This is what you would add to the shaker page. The cool thing about it is that we made it to where if you have spun content on here, it will actually change every time that the page loads. So in essence, it's a really neat feature because you're always going to have unique content on that page, especially if you add one of those deeply spun paragraphs. So it's just something that we've been wanting to test out. Finally got the featured in there. So that's now in there. The other thing is the shaker interlink. We didn't change the code, but we did realize that if you're copying and pasting these into the post editor, just make sure you read the warning here. Make sure you paste them into the text tab. And what I mean by that is going to text right here instead of visual. So paste them when you're in text. Then you can go back to visual, continue working on it, but just make sure of that. And those are the two main little things that have changed. And we'll continue to put out videos as new updates are added to let you know about any new features that we add.